Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, my co-host, Eddie Richard, and we are back after the NHL Draft Lottery. Plenty to discuss on this show. We're going to, talk about what happened with that draft lottery. A lot of interesting things going on with that. We'll spend some time on that, and then we will talk about the top picks the Ducks might go for. So we got a couple players on there that we'll kind of toss around, and not all of the players available, but a few that we'll go through and look at and discuss.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, I'm really sorry. I had a cough and sneeze right now because I'm really allergic to bullshit. That's what I'm talking about, the draft lottery. But sorry to interrupt. I'm fine now, people. Go. Sorry, the bullshit happens at street because it happens again.
And yeah, we'll go over it, and then we'll talk about the Ducks. They did pick Matt McIlvaney for the goals coach. We'll talk about some prospect stuff, some more trade rumors, and a little bit about the playoffs. So plenty to discuss on this, plenty of action. So just a reminder, we're part of the Old City Sports Network. Check out their website. Also, they got a lot of sponsors on there. Norse Beards is one for all your grooming needs. Use the code OCS for a discount. So, okay, with that, let's get into the draft lottery. Eddie kind of tipped his hat at what he thought about it, and a lot of you out there were, extremely upset with this draft lottery. So, just a quick recap. The Ducks had the highest chance to get the #1 pick. Columbus was second, and then Chicago was third. When the televised show was done, we found out that the Ducks ended up being second. Chicago ended up getting the first pick, and then Columbus following down to third. And then everybody lost their mind and went nuts. I don't know about you, Eddie, but I had a lot of people texting me, pissed off. Other people that were sending me screenshots of their social media posts saying, Chicago gets it. They're going to lose their mind, or it's, quote, rigged. People are just going nuts. Plus the way it went down, which we'll dive a little bit more into that. There's a little bit more, if you didn't know, there was actually a video of the actual drawing, which we'll go into that. But the televised show got people freaked out because Kevin Weeks said that Columbus was third, and it was between the Ducks and the Blackhawks, and then it cut to commercial, but they never flipped the card. So people were losing their mind about that, but then they're also not realizing that there is the drawing that's done before that. So, I don't know. I think that was just a little bit of a mix-up there when they did it. But, of course, caused more drama. A lot of you guys sent us in your fan questions, and you are not happy. And what did you think, Eddie? I mean, the Ducks dropped to second. It seemed like people weren't so mad about that, but they're really not happy with Chicago getting the first pick.
I think it was absolutely fucking bullshit. And there's my first F-bomb of the show. I was furious. I was pissed off. We as Ducks fans endured such a shitty season, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Or you know what? Holy fucking shit! My bad. Our guy can beep that second one out, but I was pissed. I was just filled with a lot of emotion, really mad and upset, and it just sucks that Chicago got it. And I guess like we were talking about off the show about whole thing about being rigged, but it's just. There's so many factors into this that seem like it's just something's not right. That little hairs in the back of your neck stand up. It's just so dumb how Chicago ended up getting that, especially all the history that Chicago just recently had, and the Ducks not to get it, or the Blue Jackets either. Like their fans and their organization has dealt with a lot of struggles and adversity, and they've been with their team thick and thin. For them to drop down to the third and not even get the second one, I guess the quote-unquote consolation prize, I think it was so dumb, Mike, and we talked about it. I know a lot of fans are just as pissed off. I'm still kind of pissed off and bitter about it too. It just didn't seem right to me. And Ducks fans, we really had our heart set on getting a generational player that can help turn our franchise around in the next year or so, and not just one player, I know it's a team mentality, and one player is not going to automatically get us in the playoffs. But that one player was such a big hype and such a big skill, like a McDavid and a Crosby player. He's going to bring more coaches to interview. He's going to bring more free agents that want to sign and play with him. But now it's just we got to wait and see how the second overall pick goes, whoever we pick.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a minute. And yeah, you're right. A lot of people were just. It was crazy how upset people were. I was getting all kinds of messages, like I said, people saying different things and upset. Some of the comments and questions you guys sent us. We had Ian 10 Bears Alone that said, why don't they actually do a live lottery draft anymore? We had another one, Brandon Pershin, same thing. How do they not do it live? And then Pearson Rocky asked, does anybody from the organization actually witness the lottery? So a lot of you were upset and asking questions, and I'll actually post the link to the YouTube video in the description box. Depending on your platform, it should show up. If it doesn't, you can go to YouTube, and I'll have the link in there as well on our channel there. But there is an actual video, which I was surprised because I forgot. I saw someone post a video link to it, and I was like, oh, here's the actual drawing. And it's a 16-minute video. It's Gary Bettman fumbling around with a bunch of papers for like 10 minutes. And it's kind of boring because he just really goes over the rules. But it's like, oh my God, get to the drawing. And then they show the actual drawing 1 and drawing 2. And he kind of explains it with the combination of the balls and whatnot. They've got some of the NHL media there. They do have some representatives from some of the teams there. And, when I saw that, I mean, it eased my mind a little bit because I'm like, oh, okay, here's the drawing. They did it, they the way the combinations work is there's 1,000 combinations. There's 4 balls with all the numbers going from 1 all the way down for those in the draft, and then it breaks it down by the percentages basically, and they have a sheet with these codes on it. But a lot of people still weren't happy. I remember I posted it, and I still got all kinds of comments, same thing, attacking it. And to me, what doesn't make sense is why not do it live? I mean, like, have this drawing and show the 2 draws and have the guy pushing the little buttons like in this video and like hype it up and blow it up. And I mean, you can get tons of viewership and whatever sponsors and do all kinds of stuff. And I mean, they didn't do that. And then I never really saw it promoted anywhere. Like, it's on the NHL YouTube channel, but I didn't see it on their social media. There's not like an email link, like relive the draft lottery, or anything like that. Like, I don't know, unless I missed something, I didn't see it anywhere. So that part is kind of weird. It's like, why don't you just do it live and blow it up and like make a big production out of it? I don't know. Like, if I was the commissioner, that's what I would have done, Eddie.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I don't want to be like conspiracy theorist, but I believe in too many coincidences. It just doesn't make sense to screw up. And then that video seems so freaking staged, and you're trying to prove what date it is, and you have all these NHL corresponders, these high profile media guys for hockey, trying to prove to you how legitimate it is. It just, all that just keeps telling me you're guilty. A guilty dog always barks. If you're a police officer on the street and some guy's telling you how much he's innocent, even though he has a gun in his hand and he has a bag full of money from your local bank and he's there convincing you he's innocent, it just, that doesn't make sense to me. I think it's total bullshit. And this is part of the reason why a lot of fans and hockey's has been dipping in the last few years, because things like this. Why not have it live? You don't have to spend the money to put it on NHL Network or ESPN. Just have a live stream on your website. And like you said, Mike, you know what? To be honest, before you even mentioned it, I didn't even know the NHL had a YouTube page. That was new to me. I thought it was just... I didn't even think about it when you posted it, and I saw it when you posted it on the Ducks and Pucks. You posted it on your personal page. I didn't even think about, oh, they have a YouTube page. I never knew they had a YouTube page. So that's just kind of news to me, and it seems kind of fishy that they won't even post it and throw that on their Twitter, which is big, their Instagram. It just, there's so many factors and so many like things that just make it seem like it's not legitimate, especially when you keep coming out and trying to prove how legitimate something is. That just tells me it's total bullshit, and I'm not dumb enough to believe it. Maybe I'm just being dumb right now. Maybe I'm being bitter because Chicago got it, which they don't deserve, but It's just so stupid. And you know what? Chicago, too, they've been wiping Chicago's ass for so many years. And I know, like, Chicago's one of the United States teams that they bring the biggest revenue. And we were talking about that, too, that it's like $2.5 million in a few hours in season tickets, which coincidentally, the Chicago Blackhawks had their season ticket reps on standby just in case you got the first overall pick. That's kind of a weird coincidence, too. But it's just, there's so many factors that just scream this is bullshit and not legitimate, and it just sucks because the Ducks got screwed and the Columbus Blue Jackets got screwed too. It's just, it's totally not fair, and I think hockey is just the way it's going, and especially this now, and it's just dumb. And it was I seen Kings fans even bitching about it. Kings fans on Twitter were bitching and crying about how the Ducks didn't get the first overall pick and how Chicago did. So that's just really weird. And the whole Kyle Beach situation, too. You cover up a sex scandal for that many years in favor of your Stanley Cups, and what you get a $2 million fine. You have Coyotes. What was that, Mike? Coyotes were doing the off season with their prospects or something, future prospects doing some training, right?
Yeah, it was the pre-workouts that they got in trouble for, and then New Jersey had the Kovalchuk contract, which had some issues or whatever, and both those teams lost their first round picks. But yet Chicago has this, black mark of a history that has come to light recently, and nothing. They're still able to get a first round pick. And then, like you were talking about, the coincidences of everything, having the ticket sales reps on standby. Kane gets traded to New York. Taves is done. So they lost all these people. Now they bring Chicago in the fold, get the first pick. Bedard goes there. They make tons of money. Anaheim, Columbus are smaller markets. They're not going to make as much money. I mean, it's just kind of weird just putting that together. But even if you're listening to us and you're like, both you guys are full of crap, it's legit. Okay, that's fine. But here's the thing: why pre-record the drawing? Just do the drawing live. That'll get rid of a lot of this criticism. I mean, people are going to complain because there's always those people. But if you have this live and make a big production, whether it's streamed like you talked about, Eddie, or maybe you do have it on ESPN or NHL Network or NBC, whatever, however you want to do it, that takes away a lot of the issues. Because it was weird when Bettman was there in the beginning and he's like holding up the newspapers. Hey, it's the New York Times, May 8th. Like why do you need to do that? Like, that's just kind of weird to me. And the way he was fumbling the papers, it was like he was nervous during that video. Like, I don't know. I just got a very, very weird vibe from him, that part. But, I mean, I was glad that there was a video and it showed the drawing. But as a lot of you pointed out, it's like, well, you could edit videos. Yeah, absolutely, you can edit videos. You can do retakes. Yeah, you can do that too. And that's the problem, is with having something pre-recorded, anybody's going to question that no matter what. So it's just unfortunate. I mean, it is what it is. But I think the big thing, like you said, Eddie, is that people, including us, it's like, Chicago gets it after all that. And then the Ducks and Columbus get screwed. But then what was funny is the universal dislike of Chicago I saw on social media. Every fan base of every other team was not happy that night. And to me, that was at least the hilarious part of that, whole process.
Yeah, it was like one night, every fan united against Chicago. You know what? They have a piece of shit organization. They have a piece of shit fan base. I'll say it. They were non-existent. If you ask their fan base who was captain or who was their star players before Taves and Kane, they can't tell you shit. They're so obnoxious and arrogant, all because they have their 3 cups or whatnot. Like half those, they're just bandwagon fans. All of a sudden, everyone's jumping back on the bandwagon. If Chicago went to those dark days again, they wouldn't get that much traction anymore. Mike, back in the day before the Taves and the whole Kane situation, before they became a powerhouse elite team at Honda Center, there was not like the Blackhawks fans invading Honda Center and that many. They were non-existent. And all of a sudden now they get another generational player handed to them by the NHL. Now they're all back in full front. You know what? It's just, I don't want to wish any ill will against this kid, but I really kind of hope he's a bust, which he's not. I'm just, now that comment was just me being just bitching about it. Like, I definitely don't want him to be a bust. I want him to have a great career. He's a really talented young kid, and he works his ass off, which I've been reading and seeing like he does. But it's just still just bullshit, and it sucks that we can't. Like no one. It doesn't seem like no one's moving forward from it, but I mean, it is what it is now. What can we do? We can sit here and cry, which I'm going to cry about it a few more times. Maybe when I down this White Claw that I'm drinking, and we forgot to talk about our drinks, Mike, but I'm drinking Mango White Claw. Maybe when I down this, I'll feel a little better, but it's just really frustrating. I think the Ducks should have had that pick, the first overall pick that we should have had, and like I said too, this is the second time in a row we lost a generational player. So what, we have to wait another 10 or 14 years to have that. And I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, the consolation prize. Oh, well, second pick. If Bedard wasn't there, this person would have been first overall." Like this, that argument is so stupid. Shut the hell up, fans. I hate hearing that because if McDavid wasn't in that draft, Eichel would have been picked. So it's just like, if every draft lost their first overall pick that got picked, that second overall pick would have been first. Most drafts, but you know what? I'm done. I'm done crying. I'm done bitching. I'll probably cry a little bit more and bitch about more, but I mean, I guess I'll end this and then send it back to you, Mike, on a positive note and try to look at the positive. The 2017 draft, I know the Avalanche had, they're supposed to have the first overall or something like that. Well, they dropped, I think. They dropped. They ended up picking the fourth overall pick. Nico Heischer went to the Devils first overall. The fourth overall pick, you know who that was, Mike? That was Cale Makar. And that's the best pick and a franchise player from that draft. So once we get to talk about the draft, hopefully our second overall pick will be another franchise player as well as Bedard will, but hopefully we get another franchise player. Someone like Makar. Not the same play style, but the same kind of caliber he could bring to our organization.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Nothing else really to add to the draft lottery. Just, hey, do it live, folks. Make a big production out of it, But whatever. All right. So now
Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
One more thing. What was your initial reaction when you saw that Chicago at the first? Because reaction.
You know what I forgot to mention too is they even had the Ducks card upside down. And had the logo backwards, and I posted that photo.
That made it worse.
Made it even worse. That on top of them not getting number one and Chicago getting it, I was like, you guys flipped the card and you're holding it backwards. Like I mean, was that like maybe it was an accident, but it's like insult to injury. Oh, and the Ducks got second, and then you flip their logo around all upside down and crap. I don't know. I was pretty pissed off. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that, I was pretty annoyed. I kind of already felt that that's what it was going to go. When Kevin Weeks said Columbus is third, and then it cut to commercial, and they didn't show the card, and then they said, oh, between Ducks and Hawks, I'm like, Chicago already got it. And right there in my mind, I was like, they already got the first round pick. And then they came back, and they showed it, and then that's when my phone blew up. All kinds of people texting me and DMing me, like, just legit pissed. And yeah, I was really pissed. And then when I went and saw the video, because there was actually the recording of that drawing on YouTube, I felt a little bit better about it. And I'm like, okay, I'll post it out there, let people look at it. And everybody was still mad, and everything was all blowing up. Because it just, like we said, we've already talked about it, just kind of wrap it up. But it just goes back to the same thing. Anything pre-recorded, you can mess with that. I mean, it is what it is. So it's tough. If you do it live, then it's a lot less difficult to scrutinize. But yeah, I was royally pissed, Eddie.
Yeah, same here. I was looking forward to. I was nervous. I was kind of like pacing in my room. My best friend, he's not a hockey fan. He's a basketball fan. He's going for the Lakers. So, like, our agreement, I've said it numerous times on the show. I'll watch playoff hockey. He'll watch it with me, but I have to watch his Lakers play. So. But yeah, he was like, calm me down, like when it's close, when they start naming him, he was there, and he saw my face, he just gave me a hug. He's, I'm so sorry, bro. And I was coming down from a huge hangover this weekend. Then I was like, I woke up for Monday morning at 6 for work, and I was still hungover from Saturday. So I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, and the whole thing that kept me going was like the draft. We're going to get first overall. So that was like barely, I was like leaning on my desk, like, oh my god, really? I had to work. And that was like the only thing that was kind of helping me get through the day. And that happened. I'm like, oh my God. And then just everything blew up after that. So I can imagine you, Mike. People were probably blaming you for it. I almost, if I wasn't still hungover that day, I probably would have drove my car with pitchforks over there at Honda Center and started yelling. I don't even know why. It just would make me feel better. Who knows? But I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Now all we have to do is look forward to the future, and hopefully the second overall pick is going to pan out. And I mean, I'm a firm believer in all things happen for a reason. So hopefully this was like a blessing in disguise, and we can get the player not that everyone wanted, but the player that the Anaheim Ducks need and our fan base needs to kind of rebuild this faster and have someone step into that center position and get it done like Getzlaf did.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we'll talk about these other potential players that the Ducks can pick second. Obviously, there's still some talent there. There's still a great pick that we can get at that second slot. Obviously, it's not going to be Bedard unless Chicago somehow magically changes their mind. But a couple of the players that we'll go over that have kind of popped up. Obviously, everyone knows about Adam Fantilli. That's like the big one. That's the one that seems like the Ducks are going to pick. They're going to go with. We'll talk about Mikitchoff. We've got Will Smith, the actor. Just kidding. But yes, Will Smith is another one, and Lee Carlson. So we've got a couple of these that we'll talk about on here and see like what people think. But the first one, the obvious one that most people are picking, which by the way, Phil Hewlett did a poll, and he put Fantinelli, Carlson, and Michkov on there, and then he put like other was his fourth choice. But you guys on Twitter voted 94% for Fantilli, only 3% for Carlson, and 2% for Michkov. So I mean, it's not a perfect poll, but that's what a lot of you want. You want Fantilli. And there's a lot of good things about him. I mean, if the Ducks do get him at second, there's a good chance he can be a really good player for the Ducks. I mean, he's listed at 6'2", 195. He plays center at Michigan right now. Last season in 35 games, he had 29 goals and 35 assists. 10 of those goals were on the power play. A lot of stuff that they talk about is his competitiveness, his power forward game, just the way that he competes, and that he's more mature physically. They're saying his one of the scouts said, "quote his maturity is off the charts. It's like watching a 5-year veteran." He thinks that the game as well as anyone, and has the skill to pull off things that he puts his mind to. They like him a lot. Some comparisons, which I mean, it's up to to what some people think, but they've talked about Nathan McKinnon. They talked about Jonathan Taves. I've heard some people say Getzlaf 2.0. You mentioned Getzlaf retiring, obviously, and the Ducks kind of missing that kind of a person. So a lot of positive things there from this guy. We'll still talk about the other three, but if the Ducks pick this, Fantilli second. I would be extremely happy. I mean, it seems like he can do a lot of good things, and he's not a player that's going to take long to develop.
Yeah, and I was reading some things too. I forgot to mention. In one game, I think he had a Gordie Howe hat trick or something, or he had a really good game and ends up fighting. I like that nastiness. We need that for the Ducks. So many years. I don't know how many podcasts I've said it in. It's like probably every podcast. The Ducks need some kind of identity. They need some kind of nastiness, and we're not getting that at all. There was a player from Philadelphia that's playing with him at the World Junior or the World Championship right now, or something. Scott Langton, number 21 for the Philadelphia Flyers, said he's a really impressive kid. He works hard. He's NHL ready. He's really impressed by him. He was hoping the Flyers can move up to actually have the opportunity to draft him. That's how much praise he was getting. If the Ducks don't pick him, I think it's going to be all chaos in Ducks fandom. He seems like he's good to go. He won the Hobie Baker as a freshman. I think it was Eichel recently that won it, and then Paul Kariya that won it last. Only his freshmen is doing that. So he has a lot of great hockey and elite style hockey. Obviously, he's not Bedard and And the whole thing too with Bedard and Fantelli, like the draft, you can't really tell how a player is going to be. There's been players that have been drafted first overall that are supposed to be the shit, and they just were a total bust. I'm not saying Bedard is going to be a bust. I'm just saying you never know how these players can develop if the teams develop them right. For example, look at Edmonton and Yakupov. He was supposed to be this next great thing, and the Oilers just didn't develop him right, put him in the wrong role, and he never really succeeded. He had that 1 year with the Avalanche, and he just couldn't do it. Now he's in the KHL. You have Alexei Lafreniere, if I'm not saying his name right. It's kind of a hard name to say, but with the Rangers, first overall pick, and the Rangers aren't developing him right. They're putting him on the third line, expecting him to be a checking forward, but no, he has a lot more skill. He's on the trading block now too for the Rangers. Kako was another person that was a first overall pick that's not performing well in New York. Obviously, those two players in their caliber had a lot of upside, but the Rangers aren't really, I guess, developing them properly. So I think they've rushed them too much. They're putting them in positions that they're not used to, and that's not the way to go. So who knows what the Ducks draft Adam Fantelli, he can just, like I said, be gets off 2.0, and a comparison to Nathan MacKinnon, that'd be something just. I think Nathan MacKinnon was, I want to say he was one of those players that didn't get enough steam, but I think he's a generational player. I think he's one of the top, if not, he's probably comparison to the best player in the world. Him and McDavid are probably like neck and neck. I watched him throughout the years as a rookie. I watched him practice every single day. I used to go to practice a lot. Like every time I had off, I just shoot up to practice and watch him. Just watch the team because I loved hockey that much. Just want to be, especially I was in the Army, so I wanted to get as far away from the base as possible. But I mean, you never know with these drafts. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what you have. So just our fingers are crossed. And if we can draft someone like this with the high praises that he has, especially being comparable to Nathan MacKinnon, I mean, you can't go wrong. Like I said, 2017, Cale Makar was 4th overall, and look how he's turning out. He's just amazing. When Nathan MacKinnon was drafted 1st overall, Seth Jones was projected to be 1st overall, and people were pissed off. I forgot which hockey player was mentioning about they didn't even have Nathan MacKinnon on their radar, and he just turned out the way he is over there for the Colorado Avalanche, a franchise player. So just we have to keep our heads up now. Nothing we can do unless we storm in New York the NHL headquarters and beat up Bettman. But I mean, if you guys do that, it'd be cool. Record a video. But yeah, so all we gotta do is just look forward to the future, and hopefully the Ducks can build off this, and there's a lot more positive than negative. I mean, we were the down in the dumps last season, so I guess the only way up, or the only way to go forward now is up, unless the league adds another team, and we're gonna be below that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I like this guy. Everything I've seen, I hope they do get him. I think, comparing, I'll start going to some of these other players too, but I mean, I'm a big fan too. Looking at what I've seen, the comparisons, they definitely talked about him having more edge and, quote, more snark, which is right up Verbeek's alley. He wants a team that's more in your face and hard to play against. So it seems like this is kind of a guy that definitely Verbeek would go with. Another one that they've talked about is Leo Carlson, another big kid, 6'3", 198, also plays center, Swedish player. He's ranked number 1 in the international skater availability for NHL scouting, in the Swedish Hockey League. So, I mean, it's very, very high praise on him. They talk about him also having the look of a power forward. And he's got a game, he's able to score as well. He had 10 goals and 15 assists in 44 games in his last one of his stints in the Swedish league. So I mean, he's able to mix it up and get goals and assists as well. Big guy, likes to go to the net. That's what we want, right? We've talked about the Ducks have had issues with that, and really good with the puck. It's hard to get him knocked off the puck and make it strip it from him and whatnot. So those are all good things that they've talked about him. So I like what I see with him too. I mean, they're both big guys, play power forward type style centers. Both seem to have good hockey IQs. Both top 6 guys. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with one or another. But just the comparisons, it seems like to me, in just the limited stuff that I've researched, it seems like Fantinelli is more ready to go than Carlson. So that may be a factor, and the comparisons. It seems like they're really looking at Fantelli as a guy like that can be a McKinnon or a Getzlaf 2.0 or whatnot. So. I like both, but that's kind of the book on Carlson. I don't know what you think if the Ducks don't get Fantelli and they go with Carlson instead, Eddie. If you like him or not, but I mean he's not a bad option. He's definitely an argument there if you wanted to take him second.
I'm looking forward to grabbing him. There's a few other names we can talk about too, Mike, about the draft, and I don't think the Ducks are going to get, but you can go ahead and start off on that.
Yeah, the other 2 kind of names that I mentioned too were Michkov and then like I joke, our actor Will Smith. But Michkov's another one that's come up. 5'10", 172, plays wing. He's playing out in Russia. Did pretty good in 2021. He had 22 goals in 22 games, and then you also had him with 9 goals and 20 points in 27 games this last year. They like this guy. They like his shot. They like his moves. The way he execute is very good. There was talk before that he was as high as Bedard even before. There was a debate that, what if he would be up there? But then he didn't play as well in the last season because he was on one of the SKA teams. I guess that was kind of loaded, but so they had to put him on the Sochi team instead. So there was some of that going on. So that they thought that he was doing great in the junior level, but then, maybe he needs more development. He is a smaller guy, so there's kind of some of that discussion there being an issue. And then the other part of it, too, is his contract. He's signed in the KHL till 2026, the end of that season, so 25-26 season. So that's another issue if you're going to get a guy, but then you can't even bring him to play in the U.S. until that time, unless something else can be worked out. So, I don't know. He could drop too. I mean, with this contract thing, he might fall out of the top 5. I don't know, but he used to be up there, and now he's kind of fallen a little bit down. So, I mean, I still think the Ducks go between Fantelli and Carlson. I think Michikov's a little bit more off the radar, Eddie. I don't know, unless they can work something out. What do you think about Michkov?
I was researching this kid a long time ago too. I saw some highlights in his videos. Him being able to play in the men's league, he played 2021, 2022. He had the 5 points in 13 games. But to play in that league, it's more fierce than the NHL. There's not as much regulations, are not kind of pulling away from what the NHL is doing right now. I think he would have been second overall and projected if he was able to play over here. The thing is his contract with Russia, and if Russia's going to let him go after that contract's going on. I think the best bet for him, and if he had some, not work out the contract issues, I think he'd be a great addition to the Ducks if he was going to go second overall, if they can work out all the, logistics of it, but it's not going to happen. And I was talking to you, too, I think the best thing for him, if the Capitals get him, if they draft him, I think it would kind of help them get his contract released by that St. Petersburg team, and he can just join the Capitals, help Ovechkin reach his milestone mark to be the best goal scorer ever in the National Hockey League, which he's gonna do. But I mean, as far as the Ducks, he's not gonna happen. It's just interesting to see with this kid. Russia is going through some weird things right now, the whole thing I want to compare him to, but not skill wise, is Kaprizov. Kaprizov waited so long. He played in the KHL. KHL is just what I want to say one step below the NHL, and look at him. He's a powerhouse franchise player for the Minnesota Wild. He would have been a great addition to the Ducks, and I think he could have done something really good, but his whole contract was going to shy a lot of teams away. I can probably see a team like Arizona that are a few years away from actually being competitive, taking a chance on him and drafting him, and hopefully he comes over there. But I think if the Capitals end up drafting him, he drops that low and the Capitals draft him, he can come to the NHL a lot sooner because Ovechkin has a lot of pull, especially with Putin. Like, they're boys and Ovechkin, and especially with Putin, like, Russia wants to be on the map. They want to be known for something, and like overcoming and overconquering the U.S. for some reason. And Ovechkin being the greatest goal scorer ever in the National Hockey League, that's something that Putin's not going to do, and he has a lot of power over there. So he can nullify this contract and have him go to the Capitals and help Ovechkin, or be on Ovechkin's wing, feeding him passes and getting him those goals to be in the National Hockey League. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. I kind of think he drops, though. I think teams are afraid to take a chance on him. If he was like there, if the Ducks picked him second overall, I'd be kind of disappointed because it's a big risk to take. Second overall, and where the Ducks are right now, you really have to hit it out of the ballpark. You can't screw up on this pick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of tough. I mean, he, like we said, he did okay at first, and then he had a little bit of issues the last season, but the contract thing too, and then players, there was issues with players going back and forth between the U.S. and Russia because all the other crazy stuff going on with the war and whatnot, unfortunately. So that may be.
Well, and then you mentioned his father passed away too.
Right. That's the other part too. His dad just passed away in April, which is unfortunate because it's tough. Eddie and I both know that. We've talked about on the show before. Eddie just lost his dad recently, and you all know that I lost my mom a few years ago. So it's something that's unless you've gone through it, I can't really explain it. It's tough. It's just Eddie and I both know it, and we're not going to go on with all that. But it just it's a factor. That's just the main thing. That's why Eddie brings it up.
It can mess up your game.
For sure.
It can screw your game up so much. It's like my life went upside down. I'm still trying to piece it together, but like a professional hockey player, I can't even imagine that having to go to work and not having that proper grieve time, and it's just I feel for him, and like I told you, like anyone who's ever lost a parent, I feel for them, but that can affect your game too, and he might just want to stay closer to home and stay over there to be closer to his dad, especially when he passed away. So it's a lot of factors with him, but I mean, he's a hell of a player, and I watched videos of him. He's just so comfortable on the ice. He looks just like a natural. Like sometimes he looks like a veteran just playing. He's just the way he moves, the way he skates, his shot. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential there for sure. I'm just curious, like you said, to kind of see what will happen. I mean, maybe Ovechkin works something out with the contract or something if he did end up going to the Capitals, but. It's just, this is kind of a wild card to me in these first couple ones that the names have been mentioned, but I just don't see the Ducks going for him. I still say Carlson or Finelli are the two. The last one we'll kind of talk about too that have been mentioned, and he's been kind of more on the upswing, has been Will Smith, 6 foot 181 center, playing on Team USA. Did really good last year, 42 goals. In 52 games. I mean, killing it, 6 power play goals. They've compared him to Trevor Zegras. High offensive skill, player, creativity, quick, fast on the ice, good two-way player, explosive skater. They like this kid a lot. They do talk about size kind of maybe being an issue with his puck control, but this is another guy. I don't see the Ducks getting this guy, but I see him maybe creeping top 10, maybe top 5. I don't know, but it's just another name that I just threw that in there because he's been kind of coming up lately, but I don't see him being the one that the Ducks go for. But I keep your eye on him and see where he lands because people seem to be pretty high on this guy, Eddie.
Yeah, one thing I say about him is I want you to keep his name out your mother mouth. No, you know what? I think Will Smith and Carlson will be kind of fighting for third overall, but I think the Ducks will pass on him. I think Vitali has a lot more to offer, and his game is so developed, and what he's done at the college level, and man, he has a lot of just more potential. Yet NHL players talking about him, as I mentioned from the Philadelphia Flyers, how he's NHL ready and his work ethic and he cares. about his game. He's real mature. I read a whole article about him. They're asking like, "Oh, are you gonna watch the draft?" And he said no, or no, not the draft. I'm sorry, the lottery pickings. He said no because he was in Budapest playing for the world championship right now for Canada. He said no, he's not gonna watch it because he wants to study. He has studying to do, and his interview made me seem he's really mature for his age. And I guess that's what people are saying gets off 2.0 because the way he conducts himself, the way that maturity level for as young as he is. Because when I was his age, I wasn't caring about study. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and do my thing and party. Hey, what's up? But yeah, I think we're. It's not a consolation prize. I think we're gonna really have a really great pick for second overall, and I think in the future it's gonna be a blessing in disguise. And yes, he's not Bedard. He's not going to be that franchise cornerstone player, but you never know what we have at all. A lot of people we're like, oh, Zegras this, Zegras that, but look at Zegras. Zegras is like becoming that kind of franchise player. He put the Anaheim Ducks on the map. He's been bringing a lot of exposure to the Anaheim Ducks. Troy Terry was a fifth overall or a fifth round pick. Not overall, fifth round pick, and he's a superstar. Yeah, he's a two-time All-Star. He's a superstar already. So, and then we have countless players that are coming up that are going to build this team. It's going to take some time. Maybe not this year or next year, but we're going to have a badass team. We're going to be really, really competitive. And I can see a few Stanley Cups in the Ducks' future. It's going to be great. And by the way, fuck Chicago. That's my third one. My bad. You can cut that out, Mike.
It's all good, dude. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have. You know, we're going to talk about in the actual next segment here. We're going to talk about the goals and the prospects and what's coming up. But yeah, I mean, the Ducks have a great pipeline of players coming up. I mean, I think Fantilli is going to be great. You know, I had what was it, Patrick McMakin on Instagram asked, you know, is he the second coming of Korea? I don't know about Korea. I mean, I think he's more of a Getzlaff McKinnon type player. But I mean, I get what he's talking about because you know people talk about the Hobie Baker Award like you mentioned, and Korea and Eichel are the only other two as freshmen to get it. So I get it. But yeah, I mean, I think he can be up there. You know. The Mighty Jerseys asked, you know, will our pick make opening night? I don't know. Fantilli, maybe not. If that is indeed the guy, it's kind of hard to tell, you know, once we know who we got. But, I mean, there's always a good chance. But we'll have to see more as the summer goes on. We still have the actual draft, obviously, and then we've got free agency and to see all that kind of stuff. So there's always the potential, but I lean more towards the no side. And then one other quick question too we had was Brian Xbox asked, you know, will the Ducks try and trade it for a first round pick? And I said no, I highly doubt that would happen. And then I think Eddie, we were talking about that, and you were cracking up because you said Chicago would want like the whole entire Ducks team or something like that.
oh yeah, you definitely. They have Zegras, Terry, a couple of star defensemen, Gibson. It just eat salary. It'd be so outlandish to even do. It wouldn't even be worth it. It's be crazy, but. And the whole like opening night roster, I'm kind of torn on that because if he decides to sign with the Ducks, I think they would. That's their gaining point. Like, hey, well, if you sign with us, you're gonna play right away in the NHL, and the way the Ducks roster is, why not? Just throw him up there, develop him properly. I mean, if he's really struggling and he's really not finding his game, then definitely send him down. Don't do what Edmonton does and just hope for the best. But I don't know. He has the right size, the right fit, his hockey IQ, his skill, and this whole game's changing. It's not like it was before. It's more about skill and how you present yourself on the ice. So, I mean, it's gonna be fun. And do you see, Mike? The only thing too, and I want to say this again, and I don't know how many times I said. You guys can tally this, but I hope that the whole culture changes in Anaheim where they can allow them to pick their own jersey numbers. I think it's really important. So, yeah, I mean, if he came up and he was like kicking ass and stuff, and he has his own jersey, I would love to buy a jersey from him. And by the way, too, if you guys have an away large 46 Zegras jersey, I would definitely love to buy it from you guys. So just let me know. Hit me up on DMs. So I'm looking for that jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see, and definitely getting to pick their own number, but yeah, they usually kind of let them wait a little bit. So, but you talked about the development with the players and what's going on, and that's a big part of this. And then we talked about McIlvain on the last show about him being the potential for the Ducks. Coming to the organization, being the goals coach, and that's exactly what happened. Of course, a couple days after we recorded the podcast, which always happens, something happens, but they had a good press conference with him. I think I posted the YouTube on that as well. You could go to the goals social media; it's on there as well. But he's big. He's on talking about the learning environment, clear expectations. He wants to build all that and the environment and the culture, which I thought was important. Another thing he talked about was building bonds in the locker room, and I thought this was interesting. He said, quote, "If we don't get the locker room right, the big moments on the ice won't happen when you need them to." So I thought that was very interesting, and he's got that similar mindset of wanting to play hard and be in the other team's face, which Verbeek talked about. So it's a good interview, and I'm glad that the Ducks ended up going this way, because we talked about him before. Eddie, the Ducks can, use him in San Diego. And if whoever we don't know who the head coach is going to be, but if they get a head coach and for some reason that doesn't work out, you can bring Matt up and there you go.
I think we talked about it in the last show. Like, that's the whole plan. The Ducks aren't going to be competitive next season or the season after. It's going to take a few more years for the Ducks to actually be competitive. So if you're like one of those fans that think they're going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs and win next year, no, it's not. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to be like bottom 5 next season. It's just the way it is, and I'm okay with that because I want these players to develop properly. I want them to find their game, their identity. I want this team to get more grit on their team. I need more protection for Zegras and Terry. Fantilli, if he makes the roster, he becomes a regular, consistent player for the Anaheim Ducks. I need these players protected. I want them to go run around, do their old thing, their skill thing. But we need a lot more work than what we have right now. And just, that's my hope. So, I like his approach on what he wants to do with the goals. And I'm looking forward to see what he does with them. And that's going to be really, really big. But our next coach, I'm sorry to say, it's going to be set up for failure. And I think when Verbeek was mentioning in his press conference that it's going to take kind of longer for the coach search because there's going to be less candidates or something like that. He didn't say it verbatim like that, but it was something similar to that because a lot of coaches probably wanted to draft or to coach a team with a generational player that had a guaranteed future, but now it doesn't. So now we have to just go back to square one and be patient as Ducks fans. Like, let's not be like Chicago fans back in the day where they were non-existent. Chicago didn't even matter in like Chicago hockey or Illinois over there, and just trust the process. I guess so that's the best we can do. Ducks aren't gonna be competitive next season or the season after that. It's gonna take a while, but once this team gets going, once our players, our young guns get that experience and that development, this team's gonna be dangerous as hell, and we're gonna get so much attention. Maybe one day we'll get a lottery draft rigged for our benefit one time when the Ducks are making that much revenue and doing that. Just like Alice Dochier asked one of the fan questions, do you think it was rigged? I'm like hit or miss, but I mean, hopefully one day, like I said, the Ducks will just be a powerhouse team getting that revenue because how good they are, and they can rig it for us.
Yeah, and talking about the development too, being more of a powerhouse team in the future, like you mentioned, Eddie, the Ducks have a lot of good prospects coming up. I mean, you had 3 guys win Defenseman of the Year in their respective leagues. I mean, it's ridiculous. You had in the QMJHL, you had Tristan Luneau that won it. The OHL, you had Pavel Minchikov. And then the WHL, Owen Zellweger. I mean, fantastic. And then the Ducks also had the best defensive forward and defenseman, in the QMJHL, and then their 4th leading scorer in the OHL. And then you look at McTavish too. I mean, he was the 3rd leading rookie scorer in the NHL. So there's a lot of positive stuff for the Ducks. You did mention next season. I mean, we have to go up. We can't be last, but Are we going to talk about playoff team? No, I mean, obviously not right now, unless something crazy happens this summer and Verbeek goes out and does some crazy trades or signs a bunch of people in free agency. But at the moment, no, they're not going to be a playoff team. But they're definitely going to be fun to watch and exciting with this young development that's coming up. And I'm not saying that we'll see all these guys next year, but if we even get to see some of these players for a little bit, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. I think it'll be, better than this last year. I mean, this last year was very, very tough, very, very tough, especially towards the end. And, when we laughed and we joked about the Ducks losing to get a higher pick, and then, you talk about Columbus, they got to be really upset because they could have been up there at the end, but you remember they ended up getting points in these final games, and it ended up pushing them down, and we ended up in the first spot, they ended up in the second spot, and then they ended up going third. So it's like, oh my God, I remember their fans were nuts after those last couple games of the season. So they're in a tough spot. But on the positive side for this team, obviously still need a coach too, but there's a lot of stuff that's down the pipeline I think is going to be exciting. And then it kind of rolls into our other thing too, Eddie, is like, what are the Ducks going to do in the off season? That we had a question too from Phil and Free. He was asking, is Verbeek going to buy out anybody on the team? And there actually was a little bit of news about the Ducks. Silverberg was mentioned that he was going to go back to Sweden after his contract was up. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, if the Ducks are going to try to buy out anybody, I don't know that they would buy out Silverberg this next season. I know people talked about it. That Phil and Free guy also talked about, trading Cam Fowler. But, we talked about this on the last show. The defense part is a nightmare for this team. That's something that they've got to figure out in this offseason too, because they don't have a lot of top defensemen. They still haven't figured out, what they're going to do with Shattenkirk. You're going to have Vakanainen and Drysdale back, but the blue line's shaky. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with this team, trade wise or contract wise, and who they're going to try to bring in, Eddie. Because we have all these players that you and I are talking about, but a lot of them aren't going to be ready, as you mentioned, probably till 2 years out at least.
Yeah, and I want to note too, those 3 defensemen that were defensemen of the year, that was the first in National Hockey League history that a team got 3 defensemen for the Canadian Hockey League to be defenseman of the year. So we have a lot to look forward to for those guys. So hopefully they can develop properly and stuff and go from there. Hold on, Mike. I'm reading this again. That's just that stat is crazy. I can't believe we have 3 of them. Who do you think makes it next season?
I mean, it's tough. I would say the favorite would go to Zellweger, maybe.
I lost my train of thought right now because I was just like, it's so surreal that the Ducks just had that happen. Like those 3 prospects are just like defense. Like that's crazy. See, so if you want Bedard, these 3 guys are gone. Terry, Zegras are gone, and then Gibson's gone. Chicago, boom. Let's send the first round pick, but we're jeopardizing our future. See, we have a lot to look forward to. We have so much potential to look forward to, and so much. Just this team's going to be just nasty.
Oh yeah, totally. And we did have a little bit more trade stuff again. I just touch on this as we're kind of getting towards the end of the show now. But Gibson's name got thrown around again by Bruce Garoche. He mentioned that the Ducks are trying to get more cap space and talking about trading Gibson, which I don't know. We keep hearing this. Elliot Freeman's been on this thing for a while. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if Dostal is the guy, then maybe. But I don't know that Verbeek's made that decision yet. So they threw his name out there in case you hadn't heard that. I don't know. It really depends on if we get another star goalie for him, or if Verbeek, like I said, thinks Dostal's ready to go. So I don't know. Just mention it because it's out there. Another big one too.
Well, Mike.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think Gibson should go? Like, do you want him traded, or like, what are your thoughts on that? Because this is a really big topic. and fans go crazy. It's like a big debate, and it's like Gibson rumors come like up and down. It's like every week a Gibson rumor like comes up. So, what would you like if you were a GM right now? Like, what would you do? Would you trade Gibson or would you keep him?
No, I would try and keep him. I mean, unless you're gonna get some kind of star goalie back in return, like some kind of goalie for goalie trade type thing. I don't see it. Gibson's not the problem. Like everyone gets mad and Gibson this and that and all the stuff, and I don't think he's the problem. I really don't. Has he been frustrated? Have we seen him take it out on players and we laugh because he puts people in headlocks and he's done some of that and hit people and stuff, and he has a fiery temperament at times, which I like that about him, but some of it's caused by the team. I mean, to me, I would keep him and I would work on the blue line. The blue line on this team is tough. And you mentioned the three guys like you talked about it. I mean, it's a fantastic stat. Those three guys, same year, all defensemen. I mean, it's just crazy. I remember hearing that too and I was like, what? But they're not ready yet. So like, what are you gonna do? You gonna bring back Shattenkirk? Like how are you gonna fix this blue line? Because, as Phil and Freeze talking about, it's like, well, let's trade Fowler. Okay, well, but we got to get someone for Fowler too. Like, if you want to throw out Fowler's name and you want to trade him, all right, but then you got to get a top defenseman for him. So it's like, I mean, the Ducks defense is just terrible. Like I said, Vakanainen, you got Drysdale, Fowler, maybe if you bring back Shattenkirk. I mean, there's just not, you got these fill-in guys, White, Benoit, Beaulieu. I mean, and some of them are UFAs and RFAs, and I don't know what they're going to do with them. You do have Lacombe coming up. That's another one to keep an eye on, that he may make the opening night roster and be in there and he could help out. But you're still hurting on that blue line. So I would try to keep Gibson and fix the blue line first. My only caveat, the change to that would be if you're going to get, whatever star goalie back in return, if even one's available. I don't know that another team wants to trade their star goalie. You know what I mean? So that's where I think it's tough. I think, could I see it happen later next year at the trade deadline? Like, say Dostal comes in next year and just kicks ass in the season and kills it. Yeah, maybe you could see it, and then maybe it wouldn't be for a goalie. Maybe it would be for a defenseman instead, or picks, or however that would all work out. It'd have to obviously be multiple pieces, not just one, unless, like I said, it's a star goalie for a star goalie kind of thing. But I would hang on to him for now. Go through the draft. Get your coach, work on the defense, and then wait and see where you're at, in the beginning of the season, Eddie.
Yeah, and you're right, too. Like, my whole take on it, I'm so tired of to get some rumors, but we're going to talk about it because it's Ducks news, so it's part of our job to talk about it. But I want to see, like, if he wants to be traded and he requests that and he wants to go to a playoff team, I think he's deserved it. He's played his ass off for our team, so I mean, why not facilitate that at all? But I mean, I'm so tired of hearing this. It's like every freaking week it's a Gibson rumor by someone different. Right now, I probably wouldn't mind, Mike. I'm probably the opposite of you. I wouldn't mind if he gets traded because obviously he won't be traded for another star goalie. His value dropped a little bit because he has zero defense in front of him. That's why his numbers are really bad. But I think in any other playoff team, he can really pay dividends and he can kind of lead them to a Stanley Cup final. You have a team like Edmonton that's leaning on a rookie right now. He's shaky. You have Toronto, they're down 3-1 against Florida, and they have goaltending problems. You have a lot of teams that can use a player of his caliber that can elevate them to the next level. And he can. I see a Stanley Cup in Gibson's future either with the Ducks or getting traded to a different team. So it's one of those things. It's gonna suck. We're gonna hear it every single week. The draft is gonna be worse. We're gonna hear Gibson rumors all the time. It's gonna be crazy. But I mean, I'm like, just trade him. I'm tired of hearing about it. And right now, I'm at the point where Ducks aren't gonna be competitive for the next couple of years. So if he really wants to go, or if he's just content of just riding the process and being part of the team, that's fine. But I'm not going to hold it against him. If he wants to trade, he wants to be a goaltender, then so be it. I think he's given enough for the Ducks to earn that right to pick.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I mean, that's the thing. If he does say that, if he wants it out, then that may change things up. So I have to see it. Another name that came up too, and you talked about Toronto, and the playoffs are still going on. We're going to talk about that too to finish up the show right here. But tied into that is they're talking about Austin Matthews now as a name that's been floating around. He's got another season still. He's 11.6 million, but they throwing his name around. Say next season, like we said, the Ducks go with Dostal, or they have someone else in mind or whatever, and they want to trade Gibson and then go get Matthews. I highly doubt that would happen. I highly doubt that. But that's another name to look at and see that could happen with the Ducks. Some kind of other move. I don't know, Eddie. I mean, if he would even be available, but there's just rumors that he doesn't want to stay in Toronto. I don't know how true that is. I don't follow obviously Toronto as much, but I'm just throwing that in there because that's another one of the kind of the trade rumor. Another player to kind of big name player to keep your eye on.
That would be cool. That would be sick. But no, he's not gonna come to the Ducks. That's just crazy. He won't. I mean, you know what? Playing in California sucks. The taxes, all that bullshit. California's kind of like going down the drain too. If I'm a player, I would definitely not want to play over here. So yeah, don't hold your breath on that. I mean, if it happened, that'd be awesome. But he's gonna want the max contract, and at that time, I'm sure the contract will be like, probably $13 million for the max. It's just too much for what we don't know what the Ducks have right now. And I mean, if they're that competitive, we can bring that number one center, but it seems like we're log jam in center, so someone has to go. You have Zegras, but yeah, he'll probably move to the wing if Intelli comes in and McTavish, but yeah, it'd be really cool to have him. A buddy of mine went to high school. He posted, because Phil Hewlett posted about free agents and stuff and bringing players in. He mentioned Tyler Bertuzzi. Excuse me, Tyler Bertuzzi. I like his game, and my friend Matt Didier mentioned, he's a guy to play the game, a positive impact. And he mentioned, too, the Ducks have been lacking an identity over the last several years, and this can help address that. Tyler Bertuzzi is a nasty player. He gets in your face. He will make your life hell, but he's so skilled. And I think he would be a great addition to the Ducks. And he was one of the ones, too. When this person posted it, a friend from high school on Twitter, when he posted that was my thoughts exactly. That's my notes I was taking for this podcast. So I would want Ducks to go with someone like that next season, and just hopefully he wants to be part of this rebuild and help. But Austin Matthews would be a dream. That'd be cool. If I had it my way, Mike, who's your number one free agent you would pick?
Oh, like if. Just coming up this.
No. If they're just
anybody,
any player feasible that you want for the Ducks.
I mean, so regardless what their contract is, like you're saying,
yeah, anyone.
Jeez, man, I mean, he annoys me, but I mean, he would help the Ducks with B. McDavid, man. I mean, that guy is just disgusting. He bugs me because Edmonton and all that other stuff, and come back on Catella. Anniversary just came back up because that was my mom's birthday. R.I.P. Mom on May 5th.
And happy birthday to your mom too.
Yeah, and I thanks, and I crack up, seeing that photo of his face after the Ducks, came back. But I mean, dude, really, that guy, really? I mean, Austin Matthews is another one too. I mean, you had someone like one of those guys in the Ducks team. Holy crap, dude! I mean, and that's almost. I mean, that's what I feel like they need, unless they got some superstar defenseman that could score too and quarterback the power play and all that kind of stuff. I mean, something like that, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't see Matthews happening either. I just throw it out there because there's just chatter that people are talking about. And Bertuzzi's a good one too, like you talked about, Eddie, because he's got that snarl, quote unquote, that Verbeek likes. So that's what he wants. He wants teams that are hard to play against. That's how he wants his team to be. And we know the Ducks aren't like that. They're not like that at all. So
I like his game so much. And he has his dad that played over here that won a cup with Anaheim, so there's some ties to it. So his dad's like, hey, it's cool to live over here. Who knows? I would be ecstatic if the Ducks signed like Bertuzzi to a contract. I'd probably be the first one to get his jersey if that announcement happened because I love his game. I love his style. I love his missing tooth. It's just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And with that, we kind of talk about the playoffs here, and then a couple little notes on the Ducks at the end. But as far as we're talking about Matthews and the playoffs and Toronto and all these other things. I thought the craziest thing was the Bruins getting knocked out. And as I put on social media, I said the NHL playoff brackets were ruined. They everybody's was booted out. Mine are still going good. I had a whole bunch of leagues that I did. I did pick the Bruins in a couple, but I did pick Vegas and Carolina in some of mine. So I still have a chance in some of those leagues. We've still got Dallas and Seattle battling it out at tied series. Vegas and Oilers. We talked about the Oilers a little bit with McDavid, right? Nasty series. Guys getting suspended and whatnot. They're in a 2-2 tie. Carolina at New Jersey. Looks like Carolina may knock out New Jersey. They're in overtime right now, tied 2-2. Carolina's up 3-1 in that series. And then Florida is trying to knock out Toronto. They're up 3-2, which I kind of laugh because there's that video floating around about the Toronto fans, saying we want Florida after Florida beat Boston. And it's like, be careful what you wish for. Toronto could still pull it off, but I just thought that was pretty funny. But what do you think about the playoffs with these teams? Like, who do you like, or who do you want to win, or just your overall thought as we're getting closer to the conference finals?
Oh, Vegas and Oilers, entertaining. They hate each other, and I love it. It's just like, it sucks that that Nurse got suspended for instigating a fight with less than a minute or whatever, less than 5 minutes. I think that's a stupid rule, and you're just taking away from the game. I keep saying this game needs to change, and you're not making it better. Like, two willing combatants want to fight, let them go. Don't suspend them. Pesci, that slash, that was bad, and I'm glad he got that 1 game suspension. That was so uncalled for. That was unclassy,
dumb.
But it was stupid, and he just screwed his team over. He's a really good player, and you know what? I like watching him play numerous years. I can't see him losing his composure like that, so I don't understand. And then like McDavid tries to go at him. The only thing it was like the refs jumped on McDavid. Like, it was crazy because Pesci wanted to fight McDavid. They're not fighters. I think it would have been a fair fight because I don't think either of them could fight. But the refs jumped in so quick. It's just that was just crazy. This series is going nuts, and I wish it could last for longer. I don't know who's gonna win. Me personally, I'm going for Vegas. I do not want Edmonton to win. I can't stand them. They just crybabies, and I'm sure they're still crying about that game, that 3-goal lead or goalie interference. It's annoying. So I'm seriously with Vegas, which sucks because we all don't like Vegas either. Another one too with Dallas and Seattle. Seattle surprised the hell out of me. They beat Colorado, which was heartbreaking. I think a big part of it was Nishkinen's off ice incident. If you guys haven't heard about that, apparently there was a female in his hotel room that was so drunk that she needed medical attention. I want to say 4 hours before the game started, and the Avalanche, which they're my second favorite team, but I'm gonna call them out because they're not doing a really good job at PR stuff. You're keeping everyone under the light about it, but something went on and no one's talking about it, so it's like you're making us think of the worst. But I think that contributed to the factor that Seattle just took them over and beat them. And I always said too, the Avalanche don't have that elite goalie to do it. Georgiev is a great goalie, but I don't think he's that goalie to take him to the next level. Kemper, he wasn't that great goalie. He was a great goalie, but he wasn't that elite goalie to take him to the next level. Just the way the team was playing elevated them, but it's crazy. It's those stories. Mike, like you mentioned before, Florida. Holy crap. The Bruins. And I don't think, like, I want to say 98% of the people in the hockey world thought the Bruins were going to stomp on Florida. And Florida elevate their game. They just change it up, and they're rolling. They're like just steamrolling over everyone. Once they won that game against Boston, their confidence level is so great, and they're shutting down the core four of Toronto. And I'm not mad about that. I'm happy about that. I'm full Florida. I'm full Florida fan. I really hope Florida wins the Stanley Cup. Kachuk is being everything they really wanted him to be. So that's really cool. So it's going to be a great thing. But my Final Four, where I really want, would be Vegas versus Seattle. And I love Jason Robinson. He's great. But Vegas versus Seattle. And I want Florida versus... this is hard. But I'll say New Jersey because I like Jack Hughes. And Zegers likes Jack. That's his best friend. So I think that'd be a good matchup. But if I had it my way, I'd pick Florida to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I mean, if Florida was able to beat Boston and go all the way and win the Stanley Cup, what a story that would be. That would be crazy. And I like Seattle and Vegas. If they face each other, that'd be fine. If Dallas gets in there, that's okay. I just really don't want the Oilers out of the West. That's the one I just don't want. And then in the East, I like Carolina. I mean, I don't dislike New Jersey, but I'm kind of leaning towards Carolina versus Florida. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, the playoffs have been fun and entertaining. Catching up on all those, and we still have our brackets going. If you're in there, I haven't even looked. I don't even know who's winning what. I have to check on it and see. But our top three are going to get prizes. So, when we get to the end, remind us. So, couple other things just to wind up the show. A little bit about the Ducks. Some good stuff and maybe some not so good stuff. We had Ryan Getzlaf's 38th birthday was this week. So happy birthday to the former captain, still always the Ducks captain in our hearts. And you had Troy Terry had his baby recently, so he's a new father. So happy for Troy Terry being a new dad. And then you also had Shattenkirk was nominated for the King Clancy Memorial Trophy. So some good stuff there for the Ducks. And then maybe some kind of interesting stuff for the Ducks. We talked about the team being rebuilt and things going on the ice and whatnot, but we don't really know what's going on with the media team. We found out that Dan Wood was let go from the radio broadcast, and then also Josh Brewster, who does the Duck Calls postgame show. So I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe Alexis Downey is going to fill one of those roles, kind of what I'm thinking. I didn't ask her, but that's just kind of what I'm thinking. We did have her on the show, during the season, but maybe she takes one of those roles. But I feel bad, for Dan and Josh, good dudes, that put in a lot of time. I know Dan was like 14 or 15 years with the Ducks, and Josh was like 17. So just kind of a little bit of interesting times with the Ducks all the way around. I feel like they're the most interesting team in the world, Eddie. But I'll let you kind of wind it up if you have anything else you want to say about Dan or Josh or anything with the Ducks, and we'll kind of close out the show.
Yeah, I think Alexis Downey, I think she's like ready to take like the whole next step. She's really good at what she does. She's really knowledgeable. She's a great hockey, just the way her hockey IQ, her passion for the game, it's up there. So I'm looking forward to her taking the next step because Duck Stream is really great, but I think she's ready for more. So I want to congratulate her in advance because I seem like the Ducks are moving in that direction. But the whole Dan Wood thing and Josh Brewster, it's just I think it's a really big blow, and the Ducks are making a huge mistake. And I don't know who their media person is, or not media person, but who makes these PR decisions. It's just stupid. It's like that person from Bud Light. You made a big mistake. The fans love Dan Wood. Dan Wood was such a great person. His voice, he was Ducks hockey. Even though he started with San Jose, but he was still Ducks hockey. I had numerous conversations with him. He was just he cared about the team. He cared about every fan that approached him. I asked him for professional advice. He didn't hesitate. He told me to come join him and talk to him, and it's just Josh Brewster too as well. Mike, you had numerous interactions with them on this show. It's just, I don't know where the Ducks are going, and I hope you're not trying to like emulate what ESPN is doing because they're freaking horrible. But it's gonna like make or break, and like I don't understand the whole decision making of why you let go of Josh Brewster and Dan Wood. You could have added to it, but I think the biggest problem is like Bally's and your whole thing of not allowing fans to see the games more or listen to the games, and I'm not gonna call anyone out, but and I'm not gonna say it by name, but the people that call the games on Bally's, maybe they should be replaced. Not Dan Wood. I think Alexis definitely earned a spot to be on Bally's in that TV spot because the way she talks about hockey, her voice, she's knowledgeable. Like I could probably bet money if any fan asked her any question about hockey in any aspect, she would fucking stomp you. Oh, that's another fourth one. Damn it. You edit that out, but no, it's just I'm so frustrated because Dan was a really, really I'll probably call him a friend. So many conversations we had with him, Mike, you and I. It's so mind-boggling. Like why they just let him go, and I don't know what the Ducks are trying to do and what direction they're trying to go, but they have to tread softly because like our fans are really passionate about our media people, about radio analysts. So if you bring in the wrong person, it's not going to work. If you bring in Alexis Downey, definitely she is loved instantly already. But this, if I'm Alexis Downey too, the way you treat the people you just let go, I'd be hesitant on wanting to stay with the Ducks. I'd probably want to go somewhere else. That's really bad business, and I'm not trying. I am calling out my team. It sucks to say that, but I wish Dan and Josh the best, and I hope Dan. I don't want to talk anymore because it's a drama that found, but it was really unfortunate to hear about that news, Mike.
Yeah, big time. And I wish the best for both of them because, like you said, Dan used to answer both of our duck cues all the time, and a lot of you out there too that would submit them as well. It was always good to hear that. They had Josh Brewster was not just on the post game show this year. He was intermingled, in the pregame show, and then sometimes during the game as well, and the intermissions and stuff. So I thought he was getting a bigger role. So that's what I think. Josh, when Dan went, was definitely surprising, and then I don't know, with Josh getting more of a role, I thought that was even more surprising because I thought what I was thinking is when Dan went, I thought, oh well, maybe Josh is gonna take part of Dan's role. Is kind of what I was maybe thinking initially, and then when he went, I was like, okay, so what are we doing here? So I don't know, and but you're right too. There's kind of a league-wide problem with accessibility to the games. It's with the Ducks too. I talked to Phil about this a lot of times, but when you don't have the games on AM, FM radio, you're cutting out a big part of your audience. And when you, on the television, you have selective stuff now, because a lot of people ask me, they're like, how do you watch the games? How do you watch the games? I have AT&T, so I watch them that way. And then I have the ESPN Hulu to catch those couple games. But if you don't have AT&T and the sports package or just, or programming channel thing, then like you're screwed because there's only a handful of games that are on ESPN, TNT, right? And some of these national networks. There's not a lot of ways to watch Ducks hockey if you don't have that thing. But it's not just them. I mean, it's a big problem with the league, and it goes back again. It kind of coming full circle on the show, but it goes back to the draft lottery. Why are you pre-recording the draft lottery and then you don't even really promote it? Like, again, you're cutting off your audience. You have a chance here to do it live, make it exciting, have some extra commercials in there, get more responses in there, and blow it up and get it out there. Like you said, Eddie, stream it. Have it on the radio. Have it on the TV. Have it on every damn platform you possibly can is what I would do. And that just goes for all the teams in the sport in general. Like, I don't understand. Even in other sports, too, you see this where you have to have this company's programming to watch this team, but then you have to go have another programming company to watch another team, and then it just keeps on going. And it's like they think, hey, well, everyone's going to pay. If I can get everybody to pay for all these little programs to watch all their different teams on different programs, no, guess what's going to happen? People that aren't rich, like Eddie and I, we're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to pick my what I'm going to watch. And obviously, hockey's a sport that I like the most, so I'm going to pick the Ducks and watch the Ducks. But if the Rams or the Angels are on some kind of special thing and I got to go get that, I don't know if I would do that. Like, I mean, like I only have so much money I'm going to spend on watching quote television, which I really don't watch a lot of television because it's all I won't go into it, but television is what it is. There's stuff behind it, but the biggest thing is trying to watch it for the sports, and it sucks when they basically like fraction everything off and you have to do other things and other services and buy other routers and all this other crap, whatever you got to do to go watch. So that's the part that's frustrating to me. So and it's frustrating that these two guys are gone. I just hope that they the best happens to them. I sent some messages to Dan right when it happened, and then I talked to Josh offline too as well and wished him the best. It's just kind of frustrating. Those guys put in a lot of time with the team, so I'm really curious to see what team we're going to have on ice next year, and I'm really curious to see who's going to be covering the team, at least on the radio waves, Eddie. And I'll leave it at that and give you the final word.
No, well said. You said it really great. It's just like frustrating that the Ducks did this, and there was like it wasn't necessary. Like you had no idea. Fans loved him. Fans love both of them, and you're cutting him off. I mean, we pay to watch this team. We pay to go to the games. We pay an extraordinary amount to drink freaking $18 tall cans, and you're gonna start cutting off the game without a whole reason why. I think it's just total crap, and me personally, I'm really getting tired of the way hockey's going, and then the Ducks doing this. It does a sour taste in my mouth, and it's like I'm trying my hardest to love the game, but in my heart I'm not as passionate as I was years ago, and I'm slowly losing more and more passion, which sucks because I love this game. Like I in my heart I probably would have died for this game, but the whole decisions the Ducks made and the way the game is changing, I don't know, Mike. In a few years I might be done with hockey in general. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like it, and especially losing someone like Dan and Josh. It was just stupid. And I hear them talking about, oh, we want to grow the game, we want more fans, but you're not doing it. Like Snoop Dogg he wants to be part of a whole organization. Yeah, I know Snoop Dogg has a reputation. His weed stuff and all that crap, but he made some good points. He called out Gary Bettman about, hey, you want to grow the game, but you're making it so hard for fans to watch. You have to like jump through hoops. You have to go to different streaming sites to actually watch a damn game. Like, why not make it more accessible? Snoop Dogg wanted to incorporate that. If he owned a team or owned something, that he wanted to make just one streaming service where you could watch your damn team play. He wanted to build rinks and inner city kids, they can get introduced to hockey, because that's growing the game. It seems like what we have in leadership right now, Gary Bettman, even the Ducks too, is just in every team. I'll call it every team. They don't want to grow the game. All they want to do is just keep getting profits from the wrong reasons and keep the same fans they do. It's not working out, and you know what? You're gonna lose fans. I was one of the biggest fans in hockey, and I'm getting to the point where I'm not sure I'm gonna be a fan in the next 2 or 3 years. And that's really heartbreaking and sad to see, because my dad that just passed away in January, he got me into this game, and I had the most passion for hockey. I woke up thinking about hockey. I went to sleep thinking about hockey. Now I'm kind of losing that, and I want this game to be more accessible to people. I want everyone to be able to watch. I don't want people writing me all the time. I'm sure you get the same thing, Mike. How do I watch the game? How do I do this? How do I do it?
Yep.
I think it's bullshit, and you're losing a lot of fan bases by that. Over what, a few dollars? Make this game more accessible. It's just crazy how it's going. I'm sorry I'm going off on a rant, but I think it's an important one, because we're getting tired of this. And the Vegas Golden Knights just announced that they're going to have a free streaming service for everyone in Vegas and their surrounding areas to watch the game.
Smart.
It's why not just, if you want to grow the game, do it for a few years. Let all these games get broadcasted for free, put out for free. When people at bars or anything, they can watch it. You know how hard it is to go to a bar and actually find a hockey game? It's just like, and not for the playoffs. Playoffs obviously is different, but like in regular time, I want to watch, let me see, for example, I want to watch New York play New Jersey. You can't do that in bars like regular season at all. Unless it's playoffs. So I think that hockey has a lot of ways to go, but I don't think it's going to be trending that way. I think the hockey's content with the piece of shit commission they have. So, I mean, this sport's never going to grow, and I think it's just going to digress. So my whole rant's over, but I had to say it because I'm getting frustrated that we can't grow this game. We have the greedy people that are in charge, just want the quick buck and not like grow this game with everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, there's things like we've talked about, starting at the beginning of the show and now the end of the show. There's just ways that they can improve this game and make it a lot better, and hopefully they do, because like you said, it's kind of gotten worse. And I have these conversations with other people all the time that hit me up about other ideas they have, and I don't want to share them because they're their ideas. And and I don't know, maybe they'll lead to something. But there's people with a lot of great ideas with how they can grow this game, kind of along the lines of what you said with like Snoop Dogg, making it more accessible and getting it out there into all the communities and whatnot, and trying to grow it better. So with that, I mean, we'll pretty much wrap up the show. A good show, a lot of stuff we covered, a lot of ground on this one. And we'll look forward to the draft. We'll be towards the end of June. We may or may not have another show before then. I'm not really sure. Maybe we'll, if some other news comes up with the team, or maybe we'll look over some more picks or something like that. That could be potential players that the Ducks will draft. And I know Thomas has got a crap ton of articles that he's going to start pumping out too, getting into summer mode. So look forward for that. And then also, don't forget we have Patreon. .com/DucksNPucks. Check us out there. Where we're at on all our social media and everything. Thank you for all the support, and let's go Ducks.